Hello, everybody, and welcome back to video number 37 in this series. I was getting lecture notes ready for a summer camp with high schoolers on game dev, and I think it ran a little bit long, but I want to go ahead and finish this out. And we're getting really close, just a few little odds and ends, and basically, we need our alien characters to run around. This is 37 videos in, so hopefully, you've seen some earlier ones. If not, you might want to look at some of the earlier videos in the series to see what's going on. But in this one, we're going to look at camera control. And I had something in mind originally, just the normal things we would do with 3D mouse, zoom in and out, pan up and down, all of that functionality. And since I've been posting these on YouTube, these videos were just to check my lecture notes and edit my lecture notes, and I decided that instead of deleting them, I'll post them on YouTube. But since I've been posting videos that involve Godot on YouTube, YouTube has been recommending Godot tutorials to me, and I just one of them a couple days ago had something more useful than what I originally had in mind for the unhandled input. I forgot to grab the guy's name or anything, but uh, thank you to the other people that make Godot tutorials. I just randomly stumbled across something that is going to work even better than what I had in mind. So let's look at some camera controls. Well, it's still what I had in mind. It just puts it in a better place in the game engine, in a manner that will also translate to other game engines as well. So let's take a look at that. So thus far, if we come up and run our game, we can see our character moving around. There's jump action, which I should probably change the keys because at first I put the hitting things so we could beat up our aliens with the stick on the shift key, and I kept trying to hit the space bar instead. So I probably should have swapped those around at some point, um, since I kept doing it at first, but eventually I'll just get used to it. And we can move around, but we only have the one view. So when we try to uh, sneak up behind our alien and hit him in the back of the head, it's kind of hard to get a good view on it and easy to miss our spot and um, got time passing. It's hard to see things in the dark anyway. But the camera angle is kind of hard. So I was thinking the regular mouse controls on the camera where we move the mouse left and right or up and down and change the angle we're looking at it or the scroll wheel to zoom in and out. And I just randomly stumbled across this YouTube video where somebody, uh, he had less controls in the tutorial he put on there, but he put it in a better place than what I had in mind. So let me jump over to the script. So I was just going to put it right in here with everything else, right in our physics process. Oh, whoops. And the player, right in our physics process, or ideally as the game grows larger, it might be good to break this up into pieces and move it over to independent functions. And then our main, our main physics engine function just calls those other functions. But for this example, it's still small enough that it can all fit in one function. But I was just going to put it here. And in this tutorial, he was doing basically the same controls, but he put it in a better spot. And I hadn't really thought about this before. So I'll include this. In Godot, it's called the underscore unhandled input. And it takes an event. In particular, it's going to take an input event. I like to switch things over to strictly typed. And what this does is this deals with everything that we have over in our input manager that isn't already in our script somewhere. So down here we've used the WASD keys and the space and the shift bar. And I meant to switch that to right shift and haven't got around to looking it up yet. Uh, that was the first thing that I come across that I needed to look up because I tried to assign it to the right shift key and it automatically assigned it to both shift keys. Uh, and I need to look up how to distinguish that one, but I guess both shift keys is okay there. Um, but we have those, so the rest of our input things in our input manager aren't being used. So we don't have anything going on with them. And all of our game engines will have a built-in function to access the stuff that's not mentioned elsewhere in the code, the input manager stuff that's not mentioned elsewhere in the code. And in this little tutorial that I just randomly stumbled across because I've been uploading videos about Godot to YouTube, so YouTube started recommending other tutorials about Godot to me, and one that I just stumbled across, instead of putting the camera stuff down here, he put the camera stuff here, which gives us a really nice advantage that I'd never thought about before, and that's that we can get our mouse back. Uh, when if we just put our mouse controls directly in here, our mouse is locked down, so we can't really do anything else on the computer while the game's running. But this gives us a way, it's almost like a pause feature where we can temporarily get our mouse back from the game, do other stuff on our computer, and then come back to the game. Because sometimes we don't need to change our camera view around. We can just leave it like it is and run around in the game while multitasking on the computer as well. So I thought I'd show that. It seemed like a useful thing once I saw it. So we'll put our camera functions here instead of in the physics process, but the same logic would apply down here. The only thing that would change is we don't have to check which event is not being handled. But since we're here, we do have to check that. So just a simple selection structure will work. We're getting passed in an event, the event that the game engine doesn't already know what to do with. So we can just check what it is. If event is an input event mouse button, so that's going to be a click. I'm going to follow what was in that other tutorial. I forgot to look at the guy's name to kind of thank him in this video, but I appreciate his tutorial. That was a good idea I'd never thought of before. So even if you're feeling really comfortable, look at other stuff because you'll come across other ideas and other ways of doing things that can be very useful. And basically, just never stop learning. But so we can use our input and set mouse mode, and then we have some preset things on our mouse mode. This top one on the list right here, input mouse mode captured. And my original plan was to just look at mouse mode captured down here in the physics process, which means that our mouse will be applying as an input to the game engine. But this gives us a way when we click, it does that. And then we can add an else so that if the event, that event dot is action pressed, the UI cancel, which is our escape key. Could go look it up in the project manager, but from the tutorial, that's just the escape key. So this gives us the option of hitting the escape key, and then we get our mouse back by input set mouse mode back to set mouse mode and input mouse visible. The last one on the list there returns the mouse to other software. The mouse isn't applying to the game engine. So I really like that when I saw it because sometimes it's useful to have the mouse back without actually stopping the game we're playing. And then we can just check if we're in that mode. Another check to see if we're in this mode or if the computer has the mode thing. So if input.get mouse mode, instead of setting it like we did earlier, we'll get it and just see if that's equal to input dot mouse mode captured. And if it is, then we'll do the movement like I'd originally planned to put down here. And I'll just go ahead and type it up. If this event that we have, the one we're listening to, we could grab it from this right here, was the original plan. But if the event is input event mouse motion, I will start with the motion first. Then we can say, well, let me look back at the player. Remember, on our player, we have our camera but the camera is attached to a camera mount. So really what we can do, I'll do it here. Notice if we spin the mount around, we get the camera rotating a good distance away from our character still. So we keep that distance and the distance and everything away, and that gives us the thing we want to rotate around. So in the script, I'll bring in a reference to that. Again, just click and hold control and drag it in. Then we can refer to our camera mount there. So our camera mount dot rotate around the Y. I'll do it the same way I've been doing earlier. There is a method called rotate X or rotate Y, which is all it does is called rotation dot Y equal to the camera mount dot rotation dot Y plus some value or minus some value. And that is going to be the amount we move. So I'm going to try event dot relative, and we do have to change it because remember in Godot our y-axis is up, but as far as our mouse is concerned, y is up and down, and x is left and right. So if we want to rotate around this, we want the left and right movement. So that's going to be our x value. So the x value, and then multiply by some small number, because our it's going to come in as a lot of movement, so we need to make it a whole lot smaller. I'll try 100 times smaller to begin with. Then we can do the same thing on the x. So camera mount, camera mount dot rotation dot x is equal to whatever it was plus some number, which is going to be our event dot relative, and just like how we had to switch the XY, so left and right with our mouse, we want that to rotate around our Y, and up and down the Y value from the mouse, we want that to become our X rotation. Multiply, which is going to come in as a big number, so we need to multiply it by a small number to turn it into radians. It's not going to come into as a like angle measurement, so we can't just directly use our degree to radian function like we were doing earlier in our script. So just making it a really small number, so whatever the mouse movement comes in, we'll see what it looks like there. Some restrictions are nice. I'm just going to type the code for this. Oh, wait. I noticed I made a typo. On rotating around our character, let me go back here. So rotating around our character, I want to use that camera mount so it keeps the distance. But as far as rotating up and down, if we rotate down from that distance, our angle changes way too drastically. So I'm going to put it up here. Really, when we rotate down, we want to rotate up and down over here, if that makes sense. That way we don't include the distance when we rotate here. So on our Y, we rotate the camera mount, and around the X, we rotate the camera. And then we can clamp it in place. Camera.rotation.x, and we can clamp that. There's a built-in function called clamp. Well, you can see the little prediction here, right? So how much what are we varying? What's the minimum number for it, and what's the maximum number for it? So I want to limit that camera rotation on the x-axis. On the y, it'll be fine to spin all the way around 360 degrees and maybe look at the front of the camera. But I want to clamp or limit the x to, I'll go back to the degree to radian function because it's easier for us to think in degrees. So maybe from, I'm thinking about my own head movement. It's not in the video, but if I look upward, uh, that's probably can bend my neck up to maybe 60 degrees up, maybe 75 degrees up. But if I look downward, the chin gets in the way. So looking downward, there's a restriction. So maybe 35 degrees down, and then the max, again, degree to radian. If I bend my head back, I can go up quite a bit, so maybe 75 degrees. And then we have something sort of more like normal, uh, normal mouse rotation. What did I spell wrong? Oh, need a reference to the camera. I'm going to rename it. And then drag that in there. Forgot about that part. Okay. So now if we run our game, go back to the level, and run our game, and I was hoping to get this under 15 minutes, but it didn't quite work. So our mouse is free to do other things on the computer. And then when we click, notice the mouse cursor went away. Uh-oh, why did that crash? Whoops, you might have noticed that when I was typing the code. Sorry. Let me try spelling rotation correctly. And give that another try. So run the game. When we click, our mouse cursor goes away, and moving it left and moving it right. Okay, positive seemed to be the correct version there. If I move it up and down, it's doing some strange things. Let me see why it's doing some strange things, but you can see we get control over our cameras, at least the left and right work. We try to figure out why that thing. And then when we hit escape, we get our mouse back to do other stuff. That's why I really like that when I stumbled across it. So what did I miss here? Nothing's really popping off the screen here, so I'm going to comment one of those lines out and see which one's glitching out. I think it's the Y that's glitching out, so I'm going to run this and check that. Nope, Y works fine for back and forth, so it has to be that other line. Did I type something wrong there? Okay, why does that why is that not moving? Oh, this doesn't need to be the camera mount. That needs to be the actual camera. So it keeps bouncing back to the starting position. Okay. Sorry about the typos there. So the camera mount we use to spin around our character, and the camera itself we use to spin up and down. But we want to include the distance as we go around the character, but we don't want to include the distance as we change our angle looking up and down. That is kind of the difference between degrees and radians. So click in there, move back and forth. Probably don't need to go up that high. That's probably a good max height. So I can back off that max height a little. And see up and down, back and forth, and change our angle that we're viewing at. And hopefully make that a little bit easier to see that. And then putting that in the unhandled, putting that logic in the unhandled event gives us a nice little, the option to get our mouse back by pressing the escape key. One other thing we probably want in these camera controls, and hopefully you can almost guess how to do it already. And so that rotates us around and moves us up and down, and probably don't need to go up that far. So maybe 55 and 25 might be good restrictions. And the left and right and up and down seem to go in the correct direction with the positive on both of them. So I'll go with that, but we might want to zoom in and out as well. Oh, sorry for the sudden break in flow here, but that turned into a 27-minute video. by the time I finished the camera controls. So I wanted to split that up into two 13 or 14-minute videos. It's much more reasonable time for a YouTube video. So just breaking it up here. Sorry about the break and flow, but the video's already shot, so we'll finish it up in the next short video.